Welcome to Web3 and Me, presented by FLOLiO. I am your host, Jeremy Weber, and I am joined, as always, by Dan Locke. Dan, how are you doing on this fine Friday?
Doing good, doing great. Very interesting to see the NFT market during the fated Apecoin airdrop. People getting like $1 million airdrop overnight. Pretty crazy stuff. And how about you? I assume well.
I am doing quite well. It's been a hell of a week, hell of a 48 hours, 20, any time frame lately has just been absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So excited to get into it, talk about, how the NFT market has been this week, discuss Apecoin, and really dive into our game plan for the weekend. We're not going to be giving financial advice today. We're going to talk about kind of how we're handling things and maybe some projects that we're keeping an eye on, because we're going to see a trickle down effect, and we'll get into that as the show goes on. But there's a lot to unpack, and we want to try to give some actionable advice as well, but not financial advice, because that would be bad. So as always, please like this stream if we give you some good advice here. Subscribe to the FLOLiO channel, share the information, share our page, all that good stuff. We're also going to get into a little bit of what's new with FLOLiO, because the site has launched, and we're using some of those tools this weekend to make some decisions. So, Dan, let's get into it. What have you been up to over the last week with NFTs?
Honestly, not a whole lot. I've been mostly still watching, still spending my money very carefully because we're in some volatile times. Stuff's pumping, stuff's dumping. The only thing I've really done was buy or like mint the Gucci grill, and luckily
You
I have
are you are
a
so
certain.
Gucci, Dan.
I am quite Gucci. Luckily I have a very close friend of mine that has a bored ape that was willing to give me a Gucci ape. So
Hey, that's me. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, man, I'm excited to see what the Gucci ape is looking like. It's going to be pretty cool. We used the ape that has the hollow glasses and the BAYC flip brim hat. So I'm excited to see
sweet.
when it unlocks what that looks like.
Definitely, yeah. I'm like personally, I'm very curious to see what the difference is going to be per collection, because obviously, like you can kind of imagine this like ranking within the NFTs within the Gucci Grill collection. Like obviously, like a Bored Ape is going to be inherently more valuable than like another collection. So I wonder like how that's going to be scaling up. Like for example, Wolf Game, even though I'm like a Wolf Game Maxi, I don't see the Wolf Game Gucci asset doing like insanely well, for example. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out.
I could see World of Women challenging Bored Ape for some of the higher prices on the
Yeah,
Gucci grills. I think the World of Women one are going
definitely.
to be pretty cool, and I think that's a project to keep an eye on right now. We'll get into it as the show goes along, but my Apecoin has been the biggest part of my week. Like, I haven't
Yeah,
done a whole lot of buying and selling. If the IRS is listening, earmuffs, okay. But I did swap some Ape to USDC earlier today when it was around $15 a token, just to pull some profits. Uh, treat myself and the family to a few things. So it's been pretty cool to see. So let's just springboard right into Apecoin, because that has been the news of the week. So for those who aren't aware, on Wednesday afternoon, BAYC announced that the fabled Apecoin was finally going to be coming out. We had heard news of it last October when they put their first thread out about it. They discussed that token was coming. They wanted to make sure they did everything by the book, did it the right way. And so on Wednesday, they announced at 5 p.m. Eastern that the next morning it would be dropping. So they gave like 12 and a half hours notice. And that caused a mad dash on OpenSea.
yeah.
So the way that it breaks down is, and I'll pull up some of the numbers here, but the amount that you could claim was based on your apes, your mutants, and then dogs were affected if you had apes previously, or
Okay.
mutants. So the way that it looked is, if you owned a bored ape, you received a little over 10,000 ape coin. If you had a mutant, it was about 2,000. And then if you paired a kennel dog with that, you received an additional, a little over 800. So there was a mad scramble right off the bat, people trying to buy up dogs, because that was going to be if you just held a dog, unfortunately, you weren't going to be able to get any tokens just by having that one item. It had to be paired with an ape. And that shouldn't have come as a huge surprise, because in the description on OpenSea, if you read it, it talks about how every ape needs a friend, and the friend was a dog and all this stuff. So there breadcrumbs were left to kind of let you know that, like, if you own an ape, you should have a dog as well. And that's something we've discussed on this show in the past too. So yesterday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, the site opened up to claim. There were a few hiccups, but quite honestly, for the amount of traffic and the number of people claiming, it went pretty smoothly. Right off the bat, someone in all their infinite wisdom decided to buy Ape token at like $50 and above, which I'm sorry, that was a mistake. Because it obviously came down, because that's just an unreasonable value for this token to be at. So it's now on all the major exchanges, and you have to give Yuga Labs credit for working with all of the exchanges, Coinbase, FTX, Kraken, Binance, all of them, all the other ones too, to ensure that trading of Apecoin would be available right away. And that has led to an absolute wild pump over the last 24 hours. We're about 30 hours into this whole thing. We've seen the coin, it was right around $7 or $8 last night. There was a Twitter Spaces where the board of the Ape DAO, who is in charge of all this, talked, and we saw the price start to go up as people heard their vision for Apecoin, Ape DAO. I listened into a little bit of it, very excited. You have people like Alexis Ohanian, who created Reddit, as one of the board members, which is a pretty big get. And 4 other very well-respected people in the industry. We saw that, with their discussion, the price started to go up. It got her up to around $11, slightly came back down, and it was around 11 when I went to bed. And then this morning I woke up and it had just pumped overnight. I don't know if the Asian markets had pumped it or what, but at some point it touched $18, came back, and it's, last I checked, chilling right around 13 and a half.
Yeah.
So pretty wild start to all of that. Within minutes of announcing the coin, they also announced their play to earn game. So I don't know, Dan, if you saw that.
I saw the post. It's with Enway, right?
Yes. So they posted this really cool picture of a Bored Ape sitting there playing on his phone, and next to him, is this mech, what looks like a mech. And so that's going to be part of the play to earn game. That's the only nugget we have about it. We can theorize all we want, because there's certainly some things on the Bored Ape like visual roadmap that point to mechs being involved, whether it's dogs or mutants. But there's a lot of cool stuff coming there. So Dan, as someone who's kind of watching all this unfold, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just good for the overall scene, right? You might see the term being thrown around a lot. It's like trickle down money, and it's like, if the top is being paid, like, these are people that don't just leave the scene, right? Often referred to as smart money. They reinvest somewhere else, which is often like another blue chip, for example. So that's something that we've seen a lot as well. We've seen like projects like Azuki do well. I think they went up like 3 ETH, and a little bit later in this show, I'll talk a little bit more about what Bored Ape holders have done over the last 2 days. And yeah, so very interesting insights that I can show you in a little bit. But overall, for me, it's been very interesting, very, very cool to see people get a lot of money. It's very reminiscent of like ENS, but like on steroids, right?
Yeah, it's ENS on steroids. And in my opinion, if you haven't gotten involved in Apecoin yet, I'm not saying to go buy it right now, but keep an eye on it. They made very clear, Yuga Labs did, creators of Bored Ape Yacht Club, now owners of CryptoPunks as well, that Ape token is going to be the currency of this entire world they're building. They're creating their own metaverse. They are going to have there's a merch drop coming out in a few weeks. Rumors are that you're going to have to pay for that in Apecoin.
Yeah.
And there could be, an exclusive merch drop for apes, and then a general merch drop for people who don't own apes. That's one thing that I've, considered. So that's going to be the native currency for this entire ecosystem. And we discussed on Tuesday that once their metaverse is built, they're going to have this potential RPG where you're going to be able to use other NFTs. And so this is not just like some token like Shiba Inu or Dogecoin that doesn't really have any purpose beyond the meme value of it, like there's going to be utility to it. With that, if you're on the fence and you've considered getting involved in BAYC, but you're like, oh, well, I missed out on Apecoin. What's the point? There's also going to be governance through the Apecoin website. So you'll log in with MetaMask, and based on your coin holdings, you'll be able to vote on proposals. One of those proposals is the ability to earn more Apecoin via staking of your apes and mutants. And once again, with that dog, addition, if you have it paired with an ape or a mutant. So they didn't put out a shit ton of the coin, right? There's still plenty of it in reserve, plenty more to come. And a large chunk of that could go to those who are staking. And it's my belief that proposal is going to pass with flying colors, because a lot of Apecoin is held by ape holders who are in it for the long haul and who would like to get more Apecoin and, not have to sell. So this could be big. It could be something that there's still room for it to run. I'm not trying to pump my own bags here. So,
here
just something here we go. I'm gonna fudge some other stuff later. No, but there's a lot to unpack. I would say go to the Apecoin website and read up on some of these things, because there's a lot of good information there. So, Dan, you talked about seeing what ape owners have been buying and selling. What have you kind of picked up on over the last few days?
Yeah, so the main takeaway from this is BAYC owners have bought 355 Gucci Grails, while only selling 90. So that's some very interesting numbers, and I think mostly of it is going to come down to the, well, I wouldn't say like hype beast nature, but like owning a BAYC is like a status type thing, right? Like it's very, very cool to do it. So I think maybe holders naturally shift towards like owning something Gucci. So of course, like the Gucci ape crossover might seem very enticing, very interesting to ape holders. So that's like the biggest thing I've seen, alongside how BAYC owners have sold more mutants than they bought, and that's pretty interesting. So do you maybe know why they would do that, like selling more like mutants?
Yeah. So if you look, I'm curious when those sales took place, because
Over
the week. So when I saw the numbers come out on Wednesday of the coin allocation, at the time, it made sense, in my opinion, to sell some mutants, because while getting a 2,000 Apecoin airdrop is great, if you could have sold a mutant at 23 ETH, you could have pocketed a profit and then the next day bought the same amount of Apecoin, because, the big money was in owning the Bored Apes and receiving like 10 to 11,000 if you held a dog as well. So I actually, having some mutants, I listed one hoping that it would sell before the claim. It didn't. We took the coin. That's fine. But I think that was the reason, was, the apes or the mutants off the bat, if you could sell at 23 ETH, it was going to be more money than just holding for the 2,000 Apecoin, because, there's only about 9,600 dogs to go around for close to 30,000 apes and mutants. So obviously not everyone is going to be able to pair theirs. And there was, plenty of people who are probably like, okay, it doesn't make sense for me to hold this mutant when I can take profit now. And quite honestly, you probably could have sold your mutant at 23 ETH, waited for the floor to dump for a little bit yesterday, bought that mutant back, and also covered the same amount of Apecoin or more. So, I think that there was definitely some merit to that. And it was probably a sharp move for those who didn't own a kennel dog as well, to try to unload that mutant.
Yeah. So does the kennel dogs, do they give a multiplier on Apecoin?
It's not a multiplier. It was an additional 850.
Oh, it's just like a flat number?
Yeah.
So do you think that, do you know how that would work for staking, like potential staking?
It's on the proposal on the Apecoin website. I can try to pull that up real quick, because I would like to know a little bit more about that as well.
Is there like a status, like votes for and votes against already, or not?
I don't think voting has opened up yet.
Oh, okay.
And I think you're gonna have to, you can join the DAO now, which is cool. So they're maybe voting up. So I'm now part of the DAO. Let's see. I'm not going to make a proposal. Just kind of doing this over here. So
Because
I'm
like,
I'm having a hard time finding where the proposals are.
well, then that should already be quite telling, right? It's most likely not up, but
Yeah. So I believe it's going to be a similar thing where, like, however, the set amount is going to be increased based on uh, have pairing a dog with it. And so I'm not sure if there'll be like a monthly allocation of ape that gets, divvied out, but the proposal has it for over 3 years. So it's a
okay.
3 year, span of time. There's one thing that's really cool, and this is part of why I have been a longtime believer in BAYC and I've continued to support it, is they allocated about 6.25% of all Apecoin to go to an environmental charity,
Wow.
which I think is really cool. The founders have always gone out of their way to try to give back and do the right thing. Whether it was making a large donation to Ukraine or paying their artists $1 million bonus last year when they didn't have
Wow.
to. Like, I think you can't say enough, and this might go into my bigger thoughts on investing in general, but I like to bet on what I think are good people. And I think the BAYC founders are, from what I've seen, their actions that I've seen and the way that they, handle themselves with like some of the spotlight, I think they're good people. Despite what you may hear from other morons on Twitter, I think they're good people, and I'm going to continue to bet on that type of person to win. So I'm still very bullish on BAYC, on Apecoin, on all this stuff. So let's just keep it going.
Yeah. And just real quick, I think speaking about bullish, the rebound that BAYC has had after the staking is impressive. They went down to what was it, 80? A little bit under 80?
So when I was looking yesterday, the claim happened and people immediately started dumping their
Yeah.
apes. The floor at one point, I'll pull up the chart here, but the floor at one point Wednesday night was up to, about 103, 104. And then it quickly, as soon as people started claiming, they started unloading their apes. It went all the way down to like 79 and a half, at which point some crypto Twitter influencers started taking victory laps, which was just really funny because, I mean, a lot of these guys have been fading BAYC since last year, and for
That's
one
rough.
hour, they were right, and then it immediately popped back up. So the floor on apes is back to the 93. Obviously not where it was, but still pretty good. And
Yeah.
the floor on mutants dipped down to like 15 or 16. That has also rebounded. It's up to 19 now. The dogs went down to about 6, which, if there's going to be staking and you're in it for the long haul and you're able to get a dog at 6, now it's back to 7.8. So everything's bounced back up. There was the original, people who aren't very good at this making bad decisions, and then you had people victory lapping that. So that's a pretty strong rebound over the course of just a few hours. And I think people also started to realize, like, oh wait, we're gonna be able to stake these and get more Apecoin. That may have been a
Yeah,
bad
yeah, yeah.
decision.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a lot of owners they were like selling them and I'd be like, oh wait, it's staking, and then they just like immediately buy them back or something. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah, I wouldn't be either. So let's move on from BAYC. We could talk about this all day long. Going from Gucci, we're gonna transition to a little bit more fashion here. So another big theme of the last week that's gone under the radar is the number of collabs that are happening with
Mm-hmm.
big names in the fashion industry and in the streetwear industry. So we've had 3 announcements, or 2 official announcements, one pretty much an announcement. It's a very well-known rumor at this point. But Invisible Friends is going to be collaborating with the streetwear brand Kith, which we did. One of our first episodes actually was a fashion episode where we discussed
Yeah, I
how
remember.
NFTs could impact the fashion industry. And Kith and Supreme were 2 of the names we brought up as ones to watch out for, and those were 2 that got announced this week.
Well,
So
there you go.
Invisible Friends is doing a collab with Kith, which is really awesome. Their founder Ronnie Fi has been involved in NFTs, since last year, so I think that's really cool. And then the almost verified rumor is that Gutter Cat Gang is going to be collaborating with Supreme, which seems to me like a pretty good collaboration.
Yeah, that's very
Uh,
cool.
I think that's a really cool one. And then I believe we discussed last week the Dower Darcels. they're going to be collaborating with the clothing house Colette, who is another name in the streetwear. They're based out of Paris. They've worked with Dower Darcels before. They are
Mm.
doing an anniversary celebration of 25 one of one NFTs, and I'm not 100% sure what those will get you. The sale should be starting up next week, but it does seem like, we're seeing the gaming world get involved in NFTs. We're seeing the music industry. Now we're seeing fashion. Like every aspect of life is going to be touched by NFTs and Web3 at some point. Like, I don't think you can really argue that. And we're starting to see it seep in more and more. And so this just makes me even more bullish on these little funny JPEGs that we're trading here, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. So when has the rumor started appearing with the Gutter Cat gang?
Last week, so there's a streetwear news Twitter account that's like 100,000 followers, and they tweeted out a picture of Gutter Cat Gang with Supreme. So that was like the first. That was the first I saw of it.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a pretty logical collaboration. Just the kind of, I love Gutter Cat Gang, so the kind of vibe that they put out is a good mix with
Very in
Supreme, if
line,
you
right?
ask me. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, I think it's a smart collaboration there.
Yeah. So looking at the charts, it seems like Gutter Cat gang over the week they went up from around 4 or 5 or something for on like the main collection to currently 8. We've been seeing a lot of sales today. Comparing
Yeah.
to other days, right now we've seen 37 sales just today. So I wonder if some news broke, maybe just today.
Well, I think this is part of
The
the
Apecoin?
trickle down, right? The Apecoin trickle down. But gang is going to be a token. So the Gutter Cat Gang, they're going to be putting out a token here in the coming months. We don't know a ton about it. I think part of this is also speculation and
Yeah,
knowing that the original species, so the cats, rats, pigeons, and dogs, are going to be receiving gang token in the future, and people are trying to get out in front of that now. So one thing that I've also been watching very closely is the gutter juice, and I think we talked about this last week too.
yeah, yeah.
You know, they dipped down to about 0.175, and that happened on Wednesday night. And what I think happened was a lot of people were selling off other assets to load up on Apecoin yesterday morning, and then Apecoin came. People started selling that, swapping that to other NFTs. Gutter juices being a very logical one, and now the floor is back up to 0.21 for the pigeons. It's around, let's see, for the cats, the floor is 0.675. For the rats, it is at 0.23, and actually the dogs have the second highest floor at about 0.34. So that's another place that we've seen some money begin to flow into. Now, those clones will not receive the token right off the bat. However, they will be eligible to receive it in the Gang Wars game that should be coming out later this year as well. So a lot of reasons to be bullish on Gutter Cat Gang. And like we've said, a lot of projects are seeing that trickle down. You mentioned Azuki being up to almost 13 now, since, it was, last I checked the other day, it was around 9.4. So that's a really strong increase in the last few days. Yeah, 12.9
Definitely.
for Azuki. Clone X is another one that has seen a really big move up. That's right around 13.23. It was 11 the other day. I'm curious, Dan, what your monolith is going for right now.
A good more as
Oh,
well.
very nice, Dan. It's up to 5.35.
Yep,
So we're
yep.
seeing some good movement there. Doodles have been another one that have done well the last few days. They're back to 13.4. Unfortunately, though, we talk about ones that aren't doing great, and that's still Cool Cats. I mean, it's been
And
a
that's very
tough.
interesting.
It's been a. I think there's a lot. A lot of people are at this point kind of like waiting to see what they do before they buy in, and I can't really blame them. I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, how many weeks has it been since
Maybe
Cool
even
Pets
maybe a
came
month.
out
Maybe
and
a month.
Cooltopia got paused, and they're back to beta testing when they said that they were good to go,
Yeah, that's very weird.
and communication hasn't been great. So at this point, I think that people would rather buy into something that they're still believing could move up higher long term, and not something that has such a low community sentiment. Which,
Yeah,
hey, if you have the funds to do it and you still believe in them, then this is a great opportunity to buy in, because the game launching and it running well could send the price of Cool Cats right back up into the teens where it
yeah.
was before.
But I
So
think
I
it's
don't
this.
I don't
Oh,
think
sorry.
Cool Cats are dead, but I'm also
Yeah,
one of those people where I'm not gonna risk it. I'm not really feeling like putting my money there right now. And if I miss out on again, well, I have my two Cool Pets, and that's the exposure I'm happy with.
yeah. But I think it's just very interesting because, like you said, we've seen a lot of trickle down money. We've seen established blue chips recover quite a bit. The Cool Cats is still down 50% from the all-time high, and
Yeah.
especially like the cool pet stuff that they're trying to create is extremely ambitious. It's very cool, and what I find weird is that they said they were good to go, right? And then
Yeah.
the narrative changed from okay, well we're not good to go. We're actually having some issues because Polygon is like having issues, and that can cause some like transactions to be reverted and stuff breaking, right? Okay, makes sense. A lot of projects like Llamaverse and the what was it called, the Kongs something, um,
Cyberkongs.
Cyberkongs, yeah. So they were also delayed because of the whole Polygon issue. And okay, so now that's fixed. There are no more Polygon issues right now. And then they were like, okay, well we need more beta testing because like our stuff just doesn't work. But that has nothing to do with Polygon in general. So it's very interesting to see them like using the Polygon issue as like a sort of like cover up. It feels like to me, at least from an outsider. Like I still trust them. Like I still believe in their team because they're they are builders, right? And I usually bet on builders in the NFT space. But like I can't help but feel like this is all like a little bit weird in terms of like how they're approaching this.
And it kind of feels to me like they are in way over their head.
Yeah,
Like, I think that they are a well-meaning team that just bit off way more than they can chew, and it seems like they're in panic mode right now. And that does not, communication reestablishes confidence in the community, and nothing has really been communicated that's going to make people feel good about the direction the project is heading right now. So, there's I hope that it bounces back, man. I want to see as many of these projects as possible succeed, and they've been around since, early on last year. So, fingers crossed there. Now, we're reaching an interesting part of the year, Dan, where like we're near the end of the first quarter, and a lot of weird stuff in the world has kept, you know, the crypto markets, subdued a little bit while the NFT market has run up. And it's my opinion that if your ETH holdings aren't big, if you've been involved in NFTs for a while now, if your ETH holdings aren't higher than they were at the beginning of the year, you've made some mistakes along the way. Because I think that we're going to reach a point where things start to calm down in the world. ETH starts to go back up. With that, NFT prices will dip. And I think that you have a short window of time, in my opinion, probably between now and like mid-year, maybe, to really pack your bags with ETH before it starts to go again. We've been moving sideways between 2,500 and
yeah,
2,900 for months now.
yeah,
And that movement's not going to last forever. We're going to have the ETH merger, in, I think, June. There's been some really good progress around
yeah.
that, which could definitely send the value up again. We're going to have, crypto is becoming more and more part of everyday life. There's been a lot of positive trends around that worldwide. So what is your game plan? Not just this weekend, I guess. We can talk first about this weekend, and then we can talk a little bit briefly about, the next few months. But what are you thinking, with the market conditions as they are, all this positive sentiment? What are your plans for the weekend?
My plans for the weekend and also after is like bet less on random projects. Like pick your battles, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm mainly focusing on established projects, known builders, and people who provide value. It's simple as that. Like I'm betting on people who work day in day out to provide value to the holders and the visionaries, the builders. Like I think that's just the way to go, especially with like I said, ETH going sideways and like eventually it'll like go up or down.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Oh,
the
it could,
recent
yeah. Like, let's just be honest.
developments, you know.
It could definitely go down big time before it goes up. But I think we're both on the same page. It's going to go up
Yeah,
eventually.
like for sure. So, you know, I'm personally bullish on play to earn, sticking to established projects like Artifact. Like we mentioned earlier, I bought Monolith at 4.4 ETH maybe the other week. So, you know, I got my bags packed. I'm ready to go for the pump. You know, sign me up, you know.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you're trying to sell this weekend?
Nothing comes to mind that I'm planning on selling this weekend. What I did do was Llamaverse and 420 game started their staking, so I staked those assets.
Yeah, you,
So they're accumulating their token. So I'm set.
okay. You're all set there. Okay. Yeah,
And you?
I have some things I'm trying to sell this weekend. Not that I don't think they're good projects, but I'm gonna practice what I preach, which is, take some profits on the way up, and I'm trying to narrow my holdings down to about 5 to 10 NFT projects that I think have the
Yeah,
best chance
yeah,
of growing into something long term.
yeah.
I have my Bored Ape bags. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Aku and what they're building
Mm-hmm.
over there, and we can talk about that on a future episode because if you don't own any Aku right now, maybe we'll talk about this on Tuesday. But I think that's a good place to look while other people aren't focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Aku chapters because they're going to have their NFT avatar, and it's going to be
Oh,
a free airdrop for holders of the chapters.
is it any
So,
chapter?
so if you own, you know what? Let me just pull it up right now. While we're talking about it, let's just go with it. Let's just go with it. Let me pull up their website because there's a
Yeah.
breakdown based on how many chapters you hold. You
Mm.
receive a certain number, and they have three different levels of their Akutars. So
Okay.
they're gonna look pretty cool. So I'm gonna share my screen. We haven't done any screen sharing. Let's do that real
So
quick.
yeah, if you're listening to this on another medium, this is going to be around the 32-minute mark and around 30 seconds for information. So yeah, the speaking about limiting projects, I've sold my most of my projects around like last weekend or the week before. Also, like heavily limiting the amount of projects I own, just for reference.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So
let's see.
here is the Aku website. If you haven't seen it, check out Aku Dreams. They have everything that's going on here, the different chapters, how much they're going for. As we scroll down, we learn more about it. Aku Tars, learn more. It's going to be dropping April 22nd, so you still have time. And my belief is that you should get on this sooner than later because this is one that, like I said, it's flying below the radar. We have exactly
Interesting.
35 days, and I think we're going to see the price of those chapters really start to go up as we get closer to the airdrop. So there's going to be a total of about 15,000 Akutars. Okay. This takes a second because it's a very detailed website. It may not be the best for screen sharing. Here we go. Here comes Aku. He's flying down. If we look here, these are the different rewards. So if you own
Mm.
any NFT, you get one. If you own 4 different chapters, you get one regular and one with the OG trait. If you own all 10 chapters, you get 2 regulars, 2 with the OG trait, and 1 with the mega OG trait. So definitely value in holding multiple chapters there. So, the most expensive ones, chapter wise, are going to be the earliest ones before the project got popular because that's just the fewest number. But
Mm-hmm.
if you look at chapters 5 through 10, a lot of those are going for anywhere from like zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.8 ETH. So I think that getting at least one of those, and if you have the opportunity to buy multiple of them to get to 4 unique chapters to get the OG Akutar is pretty awesome.
So do we
So
know the
I'm
difference
excited.
between the OG and the normal one?
They haven't shared that yet.
Okay.
No, I haven't seen any information on Twitter or Discord. If they do, I will pass that along. But I think that's a good place to look right now. And a really valuable thing to do in the NFT space is if everyone is looking over here
Yeah.
for something where everyone look over here, then you should go look over here. Like, what is going on? I tweeted this out the other night. Well, everyone else was looking at Apecoin. All the gutter juice and everything from that ecosystem was down and at a good price. So it's fun to get to look at the really hype stuff and what everyone's looking at, but from a buying and selling standpoint, look where no one else is. Look at projects that, okay, so right now, thank you, Agnes, as always, Agnes coming
The
in clutch.
research.
Yeah, she's great. She's great.
She's
So
at 0.54.
0.54 for the cheapest one right now. So that's, it's not cheap, but there's a lot coming in the Aku universe.
Yeah,
So
and they're established.
Yeah, and it's a good, in my opinion, it's a very good long-term hold with short-term value as well. So, like I said, keep an eye on projects that have been continuing to build for months and months, like Aku, and haven't gotten a ton of hype lately, and move projects from hyped ones over into those ones. It's not a bad bet. It's a pretty surefire way to turn a profit in the long run. And while this isn't financial advice, I think it's just overall, how I approach the market, and it has served me well so far. I know it has for you too, Dan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think that is where we're going to cut it today. I don't know if anyone else really wants to hear me yammer on any longer. I could talk Apecoin forever, but that's probably not for the best.
Shut it down. Shut
it down. So I'm going to be actually over on a second stream in a couple hours. I'm joining our friends over at Team Hold for a little happy hour. It's a little early to start drinking out here in Colorado, but I'll just bite the bullet anyways. I may have a couple beers with the guys over there. So head on over to the Team Hold YouTube channel at 3 o'clock Eastern. Check that out. Excited to chop it up with them for a little bit. And we will be back on Tuesday. So please, like I said, like the stream, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at FLOLiO_. We're going to be tweeting out some good information from there this weekend using some of our tools to help you.
Cheers.
Oh, hold up. Benny, already at it. I love it, my man. I don't know where you are, but always here for a good time. So follow us on Twitter at FLOLiO_. Follow me at JWeb777. Dan at Dan Locke, LAAQ. So for the handsome man over in the Netherlands, for the rest of the team at FLOLiO, be sure to check out FLOLiO.com for all your NFT marketplace and portfolio management needs. I am JWeb. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.